Ladies and gentlemen, non-binary, gender fluid, and everybody else in between. This is not Hot Take. In fact, it's actually a direct response to the newest episode of Hot Take. If you don't know what I'm talking about, my buddy Official JoeyC does a great series over on his channel called Hot Take. And I couldn't help but strongly disagree with this newest episode.
The Blair Witch Project is a damn good movie.
No, it is not. And I'm going to tell you why. In fact, I'm going to go through each piece of evidence in Joe's video and debunk every piece of that evidence.
Boy, I love the Blair Witch Project, and everybody that I bring it up to always says, hey man, I didn't really like it that much.
Yeah, there's usually a reason for that.
The first piece of evidence, it's a different type of horror, man.
Yeah, a bad one.
You don't even see the enemy. You don't even see what you're afraid of in the movie. It's all in your brain, man, and that is what's scary. You know what's really scary? What you can't see, man.
Joe, you have a point. You know, I'm no expert in film analysis, but I do recognize that sometimes the best thing to do in a psychological thriller is not show you what you're supposed to be afraid of. Sometimes showing the monster, the ghost, or whatever, it kind of tips your hand, and when it's not in your brain anymore, it's not nearly as scary. The problem with this movie is they didn't do that well. There's nothing scary in this movie. There's nothing for your brain to be nervous about. There's nothing for you to conjure up because nothing actually happens.
The second piece of evidence, it was an internet sensation, man. It was the first movie that took the internet by storm.
That is true, but keep in mind it's 1999 we're talking about. It's still pretty early internet. Internet porn was barely a thing. Of course people were talking about movies.
And everybody thought that the Blair Witch Project was a real movie.
And that's cool, but again, it's 1999. Nobody back then was nearly as media savvy or internet savvy as they are today. In fact, they're probably just as media savvy as the average boomer is today. A movie like this could drop today, and a bunch of our parents on Facebook would believe that it's real.
It was one of the first examples of viral marketing for a movie. It changed the whole game of marketing for cinema, man.
Credit where credit is due. That is a big milestone in terms of how movies are marketed today. My problem with this piece of evidence is it doesn't actually support the claim that the Blair Witch Project is a good movie. You're giving it credit for marketing, you're giving it credit for being an internet sensation, but you're not talking about the content of the movie.
It taught us that low-budget filmmaking could compete with big Hollywood, man. Good Lord.
Joe, you are absolutely correct. This movie was huge for low-budget and independent filmmakers. But again, that does not support your claim that this is a good movie. You could call this movie groundbreaking. You could call this movie influential. You could call it the first of its kind. All of those things would be true, but they do not support the claim that the content in the movie is good.
It was the highest grossing horror movie for years.
You know, I couldn't actually find anything to support that claim, that it was one of the highest grossing horror films ever, but I did look it up and it currently ranks only 29th all time in horror and 651st all time across all genres. Also, being on that list of the highest grossing movies ever doesn't mean you're a good movie. I mean, just go look at the list. A bunch of it is a bunch of crappy Disney remakes that came out in the last 5 years. Some of the greatest and most beloved movies of all time are ones that were not smash hits in the box office. So using this as a piece of evidence kind of doesn't mean a lot. Lastly, just my quick opinion on the movie. It's way too long. And I never thought I would say that about a movie that's under an hour and a half. But so much of this movie just drags on forever. They could have presented the same amount of information and the same exact message in half the amount of time. In that same vein, it's incredibly boring. And because it's incredibly boring, it's not scary. So much of this movie is just slow, repetitive filler. There is no significant or interesting action at any point in this movie. And because of that, there's nothing scary. There's nothing to be afraid of. When every time they hint that something scary might happen and then nothing happens, the next time they hint, you're not going to be scared. And that happens over and over and over in this movie. And of course, it is incredibly anticlimactic. I've never gotten worse blue balls from a movie in my life. The entire movie is just a long build-up to something that never takes place. And in the end, it's just incredibly disappointing. But hey, that's just my opinion. If you agree with me, if you disagree with me, let me know in the comments, let me know on Twitter. Head over to Official JoeyC's account, check out Hot Take, and subscribe to him if you haven't already. And subscribe to me if you haven't already too. And as always, cherish the precious moments, stay love, be dude, I'm out of here. See you later.